Last chance qualifiers is over. How did it go? Who qualified? I'm super interested. I'm going to tune into the Site Poll podcast, see what my favorite podcasters have to say about the last chance qualifier. Let me just listen in on this, and it's just Joey.
Oh man! When I was hitting the desk, I accidentally stopped the recording. I'm gonna have to mush those together.
Yeah, I couldn't hear half of what you were doing, whatever it was.
We'll see if it's on tape. I don't know, dude. Whew.
It was a very intense last chance qualifier if you were a Team Liquid fan.
Holy fuck, dude! Man, I'm happy. Let's start there. I'm happy for a couple of different reasons. First off, Liquid's going to TI. Second off, I am going to the International, and I'm pretty sure that we have tickets now because Liquid is going to TI. In that order of importance.
Yeah, you almost relived a Arlington Major situation. and Stockholm, actually. Holy crap, that was both of them, right? Oh, let's go to see what Liquid's up to, and yeah, they almost get bounced out before you even arrive. But yes, last chance qualifier happened. Team Secret had a pretty flawless upper bracket run and secured the first slot, and Team Liquid just by, well, I mean, the last series was pretty dominant, but it was dicey there.
A lot of series were pretty dominant. A lot of series were pretty dominant. There was one that wasn't, which was the upper bracket VP one, and then we were sweating, dude. Who did you predict to make it out of the qualifiers? Because
I had Extreme and Liquid. I did not double dip on Western Europe. I was actually kind of surprised that two teams from the same region made it through. I just thought the chances of that were pretty low, just because I thought the competition was so high between China, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and Southeast Asia.
There's two stories here, I think. One, I picked both the Western European teams, and I'm gonna be honest. It was a little bit of a meme. I only did it because I said it on the podcast a little bit jokingly, but I said it, so I had to, might as well back it up, right? So that panned out okay. That's one story. The other story is, it feels to me like everybody's collectively looking at Extreme Gaming and being like, what happened?
Yeah, I think most people had them. I think they were probably the number one favorite. But again, I think we talked about this. There was like, basically, I think it was a relatively even field. And in some ways it did prove that. There are definitely some teams who were a bit more of a letdown than others, Extreme probably being the biggest one. But if you had to put some sort of ranking, both community and expert wise, you probably would have put Extreme somewhere in that top three. If not, most people probably would have put them first. And then, Secret, VG Gaming, Liquid, VP, that's all like kind of in that same area of percentage. And yeah, there was definitely, I mean, that was the thing about this last chance qualifier and why I think it was so hype. And why I wish it was actually treated as a tournament, like a separate tournament on its own, rather than sort of like it got treated sort of like an online qualifier of sorts, or like CSGO is currently doing their RMRs for the major. So it was kind of like that. But I feel like this tournament was very, very hype. And there were so many teams that had great stories and great players that, you want to see at TI. And ultimately, we're not able to pull through the majority of them.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think that I was pretty stoked that I had high expectations coming in, and obviously I have an extra level of investment, right? Which panned out, but just the idea of the tournament itself was super exciting because of those storylines. People are like, is Puppey going to make it to TI? Is Matu going to make it to TI? Are Anna and Thompson's playing competitive Dota again? What about these Chinese team? What region's most dominant? Is South America going to win a game? Spoilers, they won a couple. But
Nobody went winless, Joey. Nobody. Tempest was the lowest record. They went 1-9 in groups. And then they got 2-0'd by Navi. The other teams actually did all right. They went 4-6, 3-7, like pretty respectable records, I would say. Infamous even took a game off of Extreme, which was pretty exciting in the lower bracket playoffs. But there were no slouches. Like everybody came to play, which was another thing that was nice. Even though the expected teams, NASA, that region is the two weaker regions. They did get bounced out first. Mm-hmm. They did not get totally rolled over.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I would put a little asterisk on Tempest because the one they did have was against another NA team. But no, I mean that feels a little punchy downy of me to really quantify the fact. I had a good time watching LCQ. I hated the time zone. And I am so happy that I'm going to be in Singapore for the majority of the rest of TI because those games in the middle of the night were kind of rough. There was a lot of me going to bed at like 3 or 4 in the morning because in my mind, the worst possible scenario was me falling asleep during the games and then waking up and then having to look at Liquipedia to see if Team Liquid was eliminated. That was going to be unacceptable. So we did a lot of staying up. We did a lot of watch parties to try and keep everybody like involved and uppity. And watch parties, pretty fun. I didn't lose faith a single time except for the lower bracket game against Vici.
That's where most people I think were sweating the most.
So okay. Liquid loses a series to VP in the upper bracket. Not what I expected, especially considering how dominant they were against VP in the group stage, right? Mm-hmm. I think the drafts were pretty dog. Will's not going to hear that. Matu's never going to hear that.
He might. I'll let him know. He'll see him in Singapore. You can give him that feedback.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, actually... I did talk to Will after the fact, and I'm like, dude, you really had us worried with that whole game 2 draft against Vici. we were watching it all, going like, oh my god, we're down 0-1. We might not go to TI. We have to win this series and then win another series. And the draft starts, and everyone's nervous. We're like eating. We're tired. There's a bunch of fucking employees and friends talking to each other, and then we give them Primal Beast Morphling 1-2, and we're like, oh my god, why? What's going on? So truly an emotional roller coaster. I have nothing but praise for most parts of the show. If I were to be nitpicky about the show, wasn't a super big fan of the remote broadcast. Am glad that they took my advice. I'm sure they got it from this podcast of sending green screens to the people who were going to be on the show. That added a little bit of quality production value. I couldn't get over the entire time I was watching it the virtual set that they had. Where the casters were little babies on screen just hanging out for the Roshan pit.
It did seem like at some point they zoomed in more on the casters.
They did.
Yeah. But yeah, that part. I think honestly, I feel like for a remote broadcast, it was probably about as best as you can ask for. Mm-hmm. Especially a remote broadcast, no offense, but a remote broadcast with all like tier 2, tier 3 talent. Mm-hmm. I think it was probably the best you can really ask for. I saw a lot of complaints and stuff like that, but honestly, like if you're doing a remote broadcast, like you can't get much better than that. There's only so much you could do. You're extremely limited when you do remote.
Yeah, there were a couple small things to nitpick, but like, who am I to do that? Actually, I think I'm exactly the person who normally does that, so I should probably retract that real quick. I think a lot of people had like a good showing from the production side. If I were to give any criticism, if I was like going into like the Reddit caster feedback thread and like typing up some feedback for some people, I found it so incredibly amusing how disinterested the finals panel looked.
Oh yeah.
It was like Fear, who love Fear. Beautiful person. Completely emotionless. And then Kezu's there.
He's a monster. Yeah.
And then Kezu's there, just at this side angle being like, it's an audio podcast, but what I'm doing is not me. Like, my face is stoic. He's like, also there. And then T Panda was like, hey guys, I'm also here. I also don't have much inflection in my voice. And God bless Nat for trying to add some energy. But that
it was actually
rough.
I actually I really like Nat as a host. The bits that I watched of that, I almost didn't like Nat's energy. And I don't think it's her fault at all. I think it was because she was so contrasting to everybody else because nobody was giving her anything to work with.
Dude,
it was just 3 meat suits and then like Nat going like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" You know, and I was just like,
she was trying to host the show.
It was weird.
And it's like everybody else was doing their taxes while they were broadcasting. They're like, "Oh, okay, I got to carry one over here. Oh yeah, it's fine. VP, they're prone to tilting, but oh sorry, yeah, that's a deductible."
Yeah, it's that is a big problem with remote broadcasts. Is panels are probably the worst.
Oh yeah,
because
so
panels are a group conversation. Casting is you can keep the baton pass off like clean. Like I'm having my segment now. Now I'm going to give a pause for your segment. It makes it like a little bit more uniform of a casting, but it's less noticeable because it's 2 people. Panel is supposed to be like a back and forth, a group discussion, and inevitably what becomes a remote broadcast, unless you have somebody who really like tries to horn in. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I'll always try and jump on somebody else's conversation. I don't care if we talk over each other. Like whatever. It's like I think that's better than like letting it go. Host ask question to panelist and then panelist says their thing and then host now ask question to another panelist. Like that's what every remote panel becomes because of delay and online and just like stuff like that. Just the fact that you can't be there in person around each other that's just what happens. So it's not necessarily their fault. It's just again limitations of being remote.
For sure. And I think that it's also cool that they're doing some of the remote production jitters through LCQ, which, by the way, had really high viewership.
Yes.
I was thoroughly impressed with the amount of people who tuned in. And I'm not sure, I mean, some of it's the team, some of it's TI. There's like a bunch of reasons, right? But I actually didn't expect the concurrent viewers on some of those streams, which is like really, really cool. It almost felt like a TI group stage. And being able to do some practice reps of production with people who are going to be a little bit remote feels good for groups. I'm assuming they're going to keep like this, like the same setup. Like I don't know what's really going to change between LCQ and groups.
Considering all the doom and gloom that is around Dota's community right now, which we'll definitely get into some of that soon. It is a nice counterpoint. The viewership is high. People are watching Dota. I think the patch is good. And I think TI is going to be a great show. So I think, good, not dead game, despite everybody trying their best to fucking put that hoax out there.
Can I soapbox? Can I soapbox for a second?
Yeah.
I think that I feel some kind of way about this because I watched what happened with Artifact and know like how, and I've watched that in other games, but like there are humans who are working on this video game, whether you like their decisions or not, at the company, at the broadcast company, who work regardless of both those two things. And when you get to the only place really that a discussion is going on in English about the game and everything is consistently negative for weeks or months on end, it is not good for people's mental health who work on the stuff.
Just don't read it, lol.
Just don't read it, lol. Yeah. Just I'm just.
I'm actually kind of serious about that. Like, you probably should not be engaging with the community, and like Valve rarely does, right? Like they very very rarely does like Jeff ever make a post, and it's purely like very clinical about bugs and stuff like that.
Hello, you can have your player cards.
Yeah, it's the same thing about like caster feedback and stuff. If it's not good to like indulge in these indulge in the community's feedback and opinion overly, which I was having a conversation about due to the caster feedback thread for post LCQ, which I always read through those sort of things. I'm just kind of curious what people like and don't like, and what the pulse is on the community. But Yeah, I think to wrap up LCQ, I think we should probably talk about one more thing. So we have Liquid, who did make it through. They had this where they ended up losing to VP, which was super scary. Then they had a matchup against Extreme, which was potentially scary, but they ended up being totally fine. Easy 2-0s. Vici Gaming, they lost game 1, super scary. Holy fuck. And then they go up against VP again, and they pretty much stomped VP to get the last spot. That team, though, that the last team, the third place team in the last chance qualifier, Virtus Pro, their story is pretty crazy.
Dude, it's unreal.
It is actually insane how close they came to being able to make TI multiple times. It is bonkers that how close they came and didn't actually make it through, right? Because they had the Pure incident, which they removed that player, kicked him. I don't know exactly, but like whatever that was, they lost points for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That gets them 0.1 points or whatever the fuck outside of well, actually they were technically ahead. They were 0.1 or whatever points ahead of Fnatic. And then Valve pulls up, oh, no, that's not actually the case. Don't listen to Wikipedia. Our official ruling is that Outsiders is not qualifying.
Yeah.
Then they get all the way to the upper bracket final, meaning they're one series away with 2 chances. They go up against Secret. They go up against Team Liquid. Aren't able to beat either one of them. And all of this is combined with the extra drama, right, of like, okay, the Pure kick and everything, and like changing players and stuff like that. Apparently they didn't get a boot camp. If you go to the I saw this, I was like, what the hell is this? If you go to the Virtus Pro Twitter,
mm-hmm.
they put out a statement.
They do love to do that.
Yeah, they do like that. Yeah, they put out a statement. And I was like, what the fuck is this statement? It was like pre-last chance qualifier, and it was basically like, hey guys, there's some stuff going on. There's a little bit of drama and stuff, but like we really need you guys to pull for our players and stuff. Apparently, they didn't get a boot camp. The Virtus Pro team did not get a boot camp out of their organization for the last chance qualifier for TI.
I wonder if that has to do it all with the org switching back to new owners and whatever. Like,
yeah,
I wonder if
probably.
they have like some kind of like internal figuring out what's going on situation, and they kind of got disadvantaged in the shuffle.
Yeah. So they went for their last fucking hurrah. It should be the biggest event, the event that you want to put the most preparation into, apparently with the least amount of prep you could possibly ask for. And they still almost made it. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. I cannot believe this happened. I feel bad. Like, I know those guys are not the community's
they say some shit
highest
in pubs.
regarded players. GPK and Ramses are not the friendliest of folks. They could be a little prickly in pubs. They do get a bit flamey and stuff. But I still feel pretty bad because there's other players on that team too. I mean, DM has been like, I've talked to DM a handful of times. He seems like a pretty chill guy. Everything I've heard about him seems like he's a pretty good teammate to have. Yamich seems like I really like Yamich. I think he just gives off an energy that I vibe with. I know nothing about Hokoda, but I like FNG, their coach, quite a bit. I've been known him for long time, ever since like the TI3, TI4 era. I did a couple of interviews with him. Great guy. Like him quite a bit. And the fact that they were so severely handicapped by their own organization for last chance qualifier is mind-boggling. I don't know.
They got a fair shot, except not really. But I mean, I wish I can see the world in which the boot camp would have helped. It's like because they did third with minimal preparation in person together. So is the boot camp what puts them over the edge? Maybe. Does the boot camp just give everybody more time to hate GPK? Also maybe.
Gonna give GPK more time to flame his own coach in a pub.
Dude,
that's a thing that happened. Yeah, I don't know. It's it definitely. But the thing is they always, when you go to the camps, it always seemed like their vibes are fine. Like even though they like in game, it felt like they were a bit like rage quitty and stuff like that. Like people kept on like accusing GPK of like throwing games intentionally and stuff. Like, but if you go to their camps, like they're kind of chill vibes and joking around. You know?
Yeah, Ramsey's always looked rather happy, and there were a couple of questionable plays from GPK, but I think it was just he misplayed a situation.
yeah, he's not perfect, so. Yeah, that whole story of Virtus Pro comes to a close. We'll see what happens next year. I'm very curious what happens both with the players and the team and the organization and stuff like that. But that was kind of the final story of the Last Chance qualifier, was the one team who didn't make it that came so close so many times.
VP also didn't, Outsiders did make it barely into the CSGO major, which I think will get swapped over to VP potentially. So there's a little bit of a bright spot for them as they continue on. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to track their organization as it's been, sold, has new owners, getting the old branding back, adjusting, seeing what kind of investment they do in players and how that goes. Because I don't know what's going to return from this VP roster. We've already seen the Navi roster drop solo, and group stage hasn't even started yet. So
yeah,
there's going
that was pretty fast. I feel like this is probably Solo's last hurrah. That's kind of what I feel like. He already had like a pretty crazy prodigal son returns, where he gets bounced out of the DPC Div 1, Div 2, and then ends up back in a Div 1 team, and then ends up back in almost in contention for TI. But I don't know how many people are going to keep having faith in him after this.
Not with the new blood performing. That's gonna be the story of TI, right? Like if you scroll around now and you look at the teams who've qualified for the international, there's a lot of people who have former champion by their name. There's actually rather few of them.
Yep. I mean, the old dog himself, Puppey, has had to go through the Last Chance qualifier to be able to get there. I thought it was the post-game interview was pretty interesting. Puppey talks about how he's gotten to TI every way possible. He's been invited. He's gone there to the very first one. He's come back as a return champ. He's been invited. He's been invited probably when he didn't deserve it. He's been he's had to qualify, and now through the Last Chance qualifier, this new thing, and he immediately has to go through that. But it goes to show the fact he is the only one to have attended all of these TIs. It goes to show both how unique he is as a player, and how hard it is to be able to maintain that level of excellence against players just much like a full-on decade and a half younger than you, much hungrier probably than you, have a lot more to gain than you do. To retain that level of excellence is something truly impressive.
I think it also speaks a lot to when you look at his team history. It shows like Puppey. 2011 to 2016 Navi, 2016 to current Secret. Something, and I think maybe this is like a holdover from my real sports brain, but something always makes me excited and want to respect people who are like in one place for a long time as like a true franchise player. And yes, Secret is Puppey's team, and there's like, business interest there. He's not gonna Puppey's not gonna go play for Tundra. It's not gonna. He's probably gonna retire first, right? But I think that is almost just as cool to me as it is the fact that he has been to all the TIs now and is just truly undisputed.
And he's done so with very different rosters, even if he's with the same organization. Like the 2017 roster of Team Secret is very different from the 2022 one. Literally every player is different. Not even Yapsor, who was the longest holdout, Yapsor Puppey, that was the duo. Well, this is the year that, that duo gets broken up for whatever reason it is. And Puppey still manages to pull through again. So
So
Yeah.
yeah, and I love seeing Secret and Liquid up there because it creates an interesting story where now 6 out of the 20 teams in TI are Western Europe Division 1.
Yeah,
That
is a lot of Western European teams, and that is also the least number of Chinese teams that have ever been at a TI as well.
It's 3.
So, yeah,
I think
Aster, LGD, RNG, two qualified through points, one qualifier. And they are like basically on par with many other regions, right? NA is the same thing. They've got EG, TSM, and then Sonics,
Yeah, South
and
America.
you wouldn't put those two regions equal when it comes to strength of like if you just took like the top 8 teams against each other in some sort of crazy tournament from NA and China. You're betting on China all the way for sure.
I'm going to put you on the spot with something I hate doing, which is like frivolous predictions, but I guess I don't hate enough to not do it. How many of those Western Europe teams make top 8?
Let me look at it real quick. OG, top 8. Tundra, Game & Gladiators, Entity, top 8. Secret, top 8. Liquid, top 8. I'm going to say 4 out of 6.
And that's half the field then for top 8. You're saying half of the top 8 field. Western Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think 3 or 4 out of 6 is probably what you're going to end up with. I don't know who exactly is going to be flopping and who's going to be excelling, but my gut says Tundra and Game & Gladiators are the two that aren't going to do well. And I think I have faith in Entity to make top 8. I think both of the last chance qualifier teams, no matter who they were, I was probably going to put them in top 8. So the fact they're both Western Europe just kind of fits.
I have so much hopium. I'm like overdosing on hopium for Liquid's chances. I think that I think they're playing pretty well. I think Liquid and OG are going to have really good TIs. I think Liquid, OG, and RNG are going to have really good TIs.
Yeah, I mean, historically speaking, teams that have gone through wildcards or have, or even previous majors, right, where some teams got slotted into playoffs directly, and while other teams had to go through groups. Playing more games, I think, is an advantage. Even if it gives people the chance to be able to study you, I think it is still more to your benefit than not. And I think it means that Liquid and Secret are coming into this a well-oiled machine, ready for groups, and other teams are going to be slow starters and stuff. So I'm expecting both of them to be able to make it into the upper bracket. And I think once you're in the upper bracket, top 8 is really you're like you literally won series at that point in time.
Humor me for 10 more seconds while I talk about Liquid. I think something that is the most important thing, which doesn't show on paper here at all, is that they all year long have not been able to mentally do it in a LAN setting. And the fact that they pulled it out clutch, I am assuming is going to have just an undue amount of positive mental benefit going into group stage.
Yeah,
I think it's more about that. It's more about them realizing that they can actually do it than it is about the practice.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I misspoke earlier. If you get into upper bracket, you're automatically top 8. I forgot. TI does the two team best of 1 elimination at the bottom, where we just immediately slaughter 4 teams at the very first round in best of 1s.
It's one of my favorite days at TI. It's one of my favorite days. I love that best of 1 day.
Wait, no. You still get top 12. If you get upper bracket and then you get bounced out 2 times in a row, you still get top 12. Okay, top 12. So yeah, but you're still 1 series away. If you get into the upper bracket, you're 1 series away, which I think is pretty reasonable.
Do you have any teams on your radar that you're keeping a special eye on? It seems that everybody's excited about just a lot of people. So do you have any hipster picks to give me?
Any hipster picks? Not like terribly. I think Thunder Awaken is going to do the best of the South American teams. I think TSM is going to do the best of the NA teams. I think EG is going to flop. I think Bisco is going to flop. I think The Southeast Asia teams, I am not super confident in. Normally, I am a fan, but I cannot get behind Talon, and so it just leaves Fnatic, which I'll probably do all right. Maybe top 12, maybe top 8, but I'm not expecting... It's just, I don't know. Maybe my pessimism will somehow, work out, and I'll jinx it, and this will be a year that Southeast Asia does amazing at TI. But I do not have high hopes for Southeast Asia having a dominant TI performance this year.
The one bummer about Southeast Asia is I don't think anybody is from Singapore.
Yeah, no Ice, right? He's the biggest Singaporean player in Dota,
or even really Malaysia. Like, neither of those I don't think have representation, which is like a little bit of a bummer. But I am really hopeful that one of those three teams puts on a good performance for the crowd.
Yeah, for sure. While my brain has its doubts, my heart definitely would love to see Fnatic probably do really well and get some sort of like top 3, top 4 performance or something like that. That would be super hype. But I mean, either way, I think the home team, like home teams in some regions, it's like it gives you 100% more volume and noise and player in fans and stuff like that. I think Southeast Asia, it's going to be loud no matter what. It's going to be fans watching and being super excited no matter what. So I feel like actually the difference between, maybe they're at 90% and they go up to 100% for Fnatic or something like that. But I think for the most part, it's still going to be a great show no matter who shows up.
Yeah, I'm morbidly curious who they're going to start to adopt as like home crowd teams too, because that always tends to happen. You get, your team that comes in who might not necessarily be local, but wins the hearts of the arena.
Yep.
And I'm also interested in, in TI's past in person, especially the ones we've done in Seattle. There's a large contingent of Chinese fans that come, and now it's even easier for them to get to Singapore. The flight is a lot shorter, right? So I'm interested to see what the arena breakdown of what ultimately ends up feeling like China, not China, happens here.
Yeah, and how far some of those Chinese teams go. We talked about the success of Western Europe. There may be very few Chinese teams at this event, but they are very strong. RNG is obviously still this you still got you're still got to believe in them. LGD is looking at the team is, are they going to be able to finally do it, break the curse, win TI? And it could be right there in Singapore. I think Aster is pretty strong as well. So even though there are only 3 teams, I feel like 2 of them are probably top 8 minimum.
I think so, for sure. It'll be shocking if LGD is not a top 8 team. I also have a lot of faith.
We're actually almost like calling our top 8 straight up, right? If I said 4 Western European teams, I say 2 Chinese teams, Team Spirit in the top 8 there as well. So that just leaves one like question mark team.
Thunder Awakened.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, I think they're going to do the best of the South American teams. Honestly, I think that's not too hard of a call.
And I should go back and take my foot out of my mouth when I said there's not Malaysian people, because X Nova and Nothing to Say are playing.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's fair. It's easy to forget the Chinese teams. There's also actually they have Mushi for Boom as well. Did you say him? So they've got a
coaching,
coach.
Yeah. So there is some Malaysian representation, and most of it's on LGD or Ghost. Ghost is also from Malaysia.
Yeah, it's easy to forget the Chinese teams just scour the Southeast Asian region for talent, as does every other region. But it's mostly Malaysians, right? Because they speak most of them speak Mandarin in Malaysia, so easier to pick up Malaysians.
For sure. Well, dude, we have fucking TI's here. TI's here like tomorrow. Tonight?
Yeah,
tonight?
We actually fly out. I think groups are tomorrow. I don't know. It's hard because we're on the West Coast and there's the date line. So
tomorrow. So they start on the 15th local time, but the 14th on the
night
West
of the 14th
Coast.
for us.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's today was my the way I was thinking about it was today was the last day to play Dota. And then tomorrow I'll cover some of the group stage from home. I'll be flying. You and I will both be flying on the same day, apparently.
Different
3
flights,
hours separated.
though. Different flights. We could have had fun on the same plane together, and I don't know, play Mario Party, but alas.
I'll be honest. I actually don't like it when I know other people on the plane.
I don't think I have an opinion on this because I don't think this happens very often.
There is an expectation of socializing.
Oh no.
Well, oh come on, you're gonna talk. You're gonna walk together, right? Like if I get off the plane and I know you're on the plane, and I get off first, I'm probably gonna wait for you, right? And then we'll walk together to the gate and stuff like that.
I thought you meant
I'm not saying
on the airplane.
No. Okay. But I'm saying even that I don't actually like. Because for me, traveling is such a solo experience where I'm just like, I have my headphones on and I'm speed walking to the gates. I'm just living in my own fucking world. So when I know somebody else is on the plane, it disrupts that. All of a sudden, like I'm walking with you, and like instead of listening to music, I have my headphones off as we walk along, just, to make sure that if you do say something, I hear you, So I actually don't like it.
I think there's a level of convenience depending on what you're doing, right? Because like if we both had to get off the plane and go to the same hotel, it's like, okay, we can get a cab.
Yeah, but I live an esports life. I never travel anywhere without that already being prearranged for me.
I'm sorry. I forgot your bougie talent lifestyle.
Where is my limo?
Excuse me. You need a car that says Austin on it. Someone's going to be holding and being like, "Can I take your bag, sir?"
Yeah, exactly.
And that'll be me. I'll be lugging all of them. Dude, so we are going to Singapore basically 3 hours apart. We're going to be in the air for most of the time together, just on different planes. You'll be like looking at my plane's butt and catching my jet fumes. And then so this is wild. This is a wild schedule that we have. We're going Sunday night, and the way that the time zone works and the 17.5-hour flight works is that we arrive the morning of Tuesday. I arrive at 5 a.m, and I'm not super excited about that because you know what? My hotel doesn't check until 3 o'clock. So what the fuck am I going to do all day? That is a legitimate thing that I have to figure out and solve for. I'm probably gonna book the hotel for an extra night. What a waste of money. Anywho, and then so we get there. It's the morning of the 18th. We are presumably some layer of jet lagged. I'm gonna try and sleep on the plane for like 6 hours, and then I'm going to try and stay awake as long as fucking possible on Tuesday, go to bed at normal time, and hopefully wake up Wednesday not jet lagged, because Wednesday is a preparation day because TI is on Thursday. there's like the day we land and then one bonus day and then the event, and we have to try and fight off a world's, or in this case a half world's worth of jet lag. Whew.
Yeah, it's also the fact that we're flying during groups means for me anyway, it means I have to catch up, right? There is a whole day of group stage games that I'm going to miss out on.
You can't convince PGL to just expense your Wi-Fi. You gotta be like, come on, guys, I need the big Wi-Fi plan so I can watch.
I'll try, but watching is there 4 different streams going on for group stage? I assume.
Oh yeah.
So watching. I can watch one of them on my shitty phone, little small phone screen. That's not really.
What if I give you my Steam Deck? You load up into the client, and you watch via Dota TV.
I got one on my phone, one on my Steam Deck. Yeah.
I bet someone's gonna do that. Someone somewhere in the world is gonna be doing that. It could be you.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same. So I'm going to have to use that day to catch up on the group stage. This is actually my biggest problem with the broadcast. And maybe it's because this is entirely self-centered. But so the panel is going to be in Norway, right? We've talked about this previously. Well, we talked about it hypothetically.
Did you know it was real? What? I thought it was just a rumor. What the? Oh, what? Sorry, go ahead.
So the panelists are all going to be in Norway, right? And the casters will actually be in Singapore, because I think that is probably the most important element, is having You want the casters in with the crowd. You want the background noise of the crowd and stuff like that, writing the energy. I don't know. It's like, I actually don't have a huge problem with the panel in Norway. I don't think it's because it doesn't affect me. I genuinely think that I've worked a lot of shows where the panel is not actually in the stadium. Not necessarily a ton of them where they've been remote, but because they're going to some fancy studio in Norway, production value is going to get a bump up. And they're also going to be able to provide more for the other languages. So they're actually providing
Portuguese?
5 languages.
Spanish?
Yeah, Spanish and Portuguese. So they're actually giving a bigger. They're giving more parity to the other languages, right? So it used to be that like whoever's primary language was like super favored, and then the other 2 languages of Russian and Chinese were brought on site, and then like the other languages, good luck, you know.
They used to cast from, in old TIs, sorry to help with your point, like the Philippines or other languages were cast in the press section. Like there were computers set up in the audience where they had like a one PC with Dota TV, and they would cast from the press section in the crowd. That is the difference between like a third language stream versus, you know, what you saw the English broadcast be.
Yeah. So they're giving other more support to the other languages, which is cool with this. They're giving more parity across the board to the secondary languages, and they're also upping the production value by doing a remote broadcast. It sucks for the talent. That is the problem. That is the biggest downside, is the fact that you are not at TI. For the talent individually, the biggest downside for the show is the fact that you don't get pro players on, which there will probably still be some workaround. Obviously, like if you're in there in Singapore, you gotta bring the pro players on somehow, right? Whether it's like having them call in to the remote broadcast or something, they got to be doing something like that. Not just doing like winners and losers interviews. There's got to be more to that. So. But yeah, that's definitely the biggest loss, is not having the pro players on panel. But like otherwise, I think it's fine. I actually don't have a big problem with it, especially since I don't know what the added production value is going to be.
Yeah, we'll all be more educated after the fact, right? I think that a lot of the problems stem from like the personal, like it is truly a bummer for those 24 people.
Yeah.
And then you talk
but that's part of the job, right? It's like you when you get hired for events, like you don't get to have this kind of say, right? Production is gonna do what they're gonna do, and like they hired you for a reason, and I think that's fair.
I think you'd be complaining about it more if you were in Oslo.
I don't think I would, actually.
Okay.
Remember what I said? I said that I wouldn't go.
That that is true. It would be hard to complain.
That is a choice that every person has, right?
Yeah,
it's not like it's like, gotcha, you're going to Norway, you're trapped, you can't go anymore, right? Well, like I know, like I do feel for it, but like objectively speaking, like I guess I'm just always one of those people, like when you are paying for my day rate, like you get like kind of whatever you want, you know. You're paying for the full night. You get the whole deal. So like whatever it is, as long as whatever the tournament organizer, the production, if they think that this is best for the show, like, okay, maybe it is. Well, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see if it is actually best for the show or not. But how much added value is there for the panel to actually be there in Singapore? Not much, except for the pro player element.
I also think that there is a teeny tiny little thing that is absolutely wild, the hours that they're going to be working during the broadcast. They're like doing night shifts all the time. So hopefully people are starting to adjust their sleep schedules.
I mean, like I don't really feel for that either. It's like lots of people have to work the night schedule, and like, you know, we do it for the Sweden, right? The NA broadcast that goes till, it's not quite the same, right? 2 a.m., 3 a.m. When I do the BTS side, where they were covering Eastern Europe, we had to do midnight. midnight was the starting for Southeast Asia, and sometimes the close would end somewhere like noon and stuff like that. It does suck, but like part of your job is to ignore
Adjust.
what time. That is actually my biggest pet peeve, is when the panel overemphasizes what time it is locally.
Oh, guys, we've been having games for all these were hour-long best of threes. It's 4 a.m.
Yeah, like I understand because I'm a host, so like I reference it often. Like it's kind of a filler. We're going late into the night here, like I do that, but I hate it when we really emphasize like, oh my god, it's 4 a.m. Like I hate that. Like that's not your job. Is literally to ignore that and to provide a cleaner experience to the audience.
You said you're a host, a professional host who kind of does whatever they need to when they get their day rate paid.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's good because I got to give you some money because
you pay my day rate, Joey.
I got to pay your day rate for something. I got to pay your day rate for something.
That's right. We're doing a show together.
Holy fuck, dude. We're doing a show together. I should probably start with that. We're doing a show together for Monster in Singapore at the International in the mornings, asterisk. The mornings do not cast in the first series of the day. Please be kind, there'll be solutions if you are. But this has been something that has been in the works for probably 6 months, maybe 8. It's definitely been something that's been bouncing around for a little while, and I'm excited to finally be able to talk about it with you, talk about it with y'all, because I assume that the biggest core demographic of what we are going to do at TI are the people who are listening to this right now and are listening to us anyways. So,
That's true.
So I need to be very clear to you. It's twitch.tv/Monster Energy, and it's going to be every morning of the playoffs for an hour before the broadcast
Please show
start.
up.
Please show up. Like please show up, please clap, please post shit in chat so it feels like people are watching. Please post clips on Reddit, please shamelessly promote, please make fun of me, please do everything to show that they're that you're there. I say that in jest because I actually think that we're going to have a product that is God, I shouldn't say successful, but it's going to be something. Monster's going to promote. Okay, dude, we're going to be on like the Twitch main carousel, and there's going to be like a bunch of fucking random viewers, which is like, it'll make the number look cool, but like there's going to be a bunch of people who have no idea what's going on. So that's cool. Whew. And I hope that Dota people like it. We're going to essentially be doing a morning show for an hour before the broadcast to catch you up on what happened, to have interviews, to do silly things, to hang out, to talk like this. We managed to do an hour every week, so surely we can do an hour together in a studio, I think, right?
Yeah, with hot topics every day about what happened at TI and stuff like that. That's kind of important. So what are we going to be doing, Joey? I say this like I already know and I'm prompting a conversation, but I actually don't.
Yeah, I got to figure that part out.
Okay.
Don't tell Monster. No.
We're winging it.
The show is a little bit winged and a lot not winged. How good are you with the teleprompter, by the way? We should have had this conversation off air.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good with teleprompters.
We're essentially, it is like you're tuning in. The main broadcast isn't live yet. We actually don't know that because I don't know when the main broadcast is going to start. We think it's going to be 10 o'clock, but like TBD. Show might have to move up a little bit. We're going to kind of be people's recap of the day before, intro to what's going on, maybe talk a little bit about fantasy prediction, maybe show some highlight clips, have guests on, talk to them about like their experience at TI so far, some in person, some remote. We're going to have some segments. We're going to play some games, not like games of Dota, but like we're going to play some games. It's going to be a real show that we're doing.
That part that you said about bringing guests on, I think that's the part that I'm most excited for the show. Just because if there is going to be a remote panel, you're already losing some of that element of like, let's pull people from the show in live, right? And so I think there are so many stories that happen around TI. There's so many, there's so much backstage stuff that goes on, that I really hope that we're going to be able. Well, I know we're going to be able to pull people onto the show, but I really hope we're going to be able to talk about some of those things and just give people a little bit more inside look into what TI is like behind the curtain.
So what I'm hoping gets to happen is like we're not really a media outlet. We're also not the official broadcast. We are not the official broadcast. So I'm hoping
to be very clear, we are not tied with the international.
Anyway, we are just in Singapore doing a show about Dota. I'm hoping that almost gives people like a level of comfort to potentially talk about some of those things that you wouldn't see on the broadcast. So
yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. There should be some in-person guests, there should be some remote guests. That's probably gonna be the hardest part, is scheduling people. But we're going to make it work. I can't promise anything in particular, but I can promise that we're going to have fun, and it's going to be like nothing that has happened before, and I think that's part of it. And dude, it's been so stressful trying to figure out. So like, here, let me give people a peek behind the curtain of what's been going on for 6 months. Monster and Team Liquid are like, hey, let's do a morning show for the International. Cool. Here's some money. You guys can do it. I convince people that Austin and I can do the show together because we do this, right? Like,
what do you mean convince? Yeah. Surely they were sold immediately.
They were. You're right. I'm being modest. It was an easy sell. But so we made this arrangement before we knew where TI was. It could have been. It could have been in
Antarctic.
Yeah, it could have been in Antarctic. It could have been in Seattle. It could have been in Sweden. It could have been in Dubai. It could have been anywhere. And then we get the information that it's going to be in Singapore, which is cool.
One of the most expensive places in the world.
Which is cool because I have always wanted to go to Singapore, which is why I'm excited about it. But if you're doing a show, we did not budget a show for Singapore. We are spending the hotel that we're staying in and broadcasting the show out of, because we're doing the show out of my literal hotel room, is like $20,000.
Jesus Christ.
That's not a flex. That's not a, like, there's a budget for the show, but Singapore's expensive.
I didn't know you guys had that kind of money. I need to up my day rate.
No. We can talk about that later. So we didn't know that it was going to be in Singapore. We didn't know that there was going to be a fucked up 5-day break in the middle of playoffs.
Yep.
And then we hear, we first off, we don't even know the cap was going to TI.
I didn't know if Liquid's going to TI.
Didn't know if Liquid was going to TI until 2 days ago. And then we find out that people are going to be in Oslo and not in Singapore. So people who we wanted to work on the show with are going to be across the world. There's a lot of reasons why the thing we are doing should absolutely not be happening, but we have said fuck it to all of them. We're gonna do a show, so please come out. That's all I can ask.
Yeah, watch the show, do it,
and buy a can of Monster Energy for me. Dude, I gotta not get jet lagged. I'm really worried about that.
Yeah, you gotta do a bunch of shit. I haven't had to do anything. All I had to do was buy a suit. I got my. Did you get your booster shot? I got my booster shot. Baby?
I got my booster shot, and I got my flu shot. If you haven't gotten your flu shot, there's actually a lot of flu in the place that we're gonna take a vacation after TI. You might want to think about doing that. Just a heads up.
Yeah.
Booster shot and flu shot. Was your last booster shot bad? Because I got the new Moderna update. I got like the 4.5, the bivalent, the one that's for the Omicron, and it was the easiest booster I've had. My arm wasn't sore. I didn't feel sick. I had like a very low grade fever for a couple of hours, and that was it. And I was worried about it.
My arm was sore, but yeah, it's definitely was the chillest of all between the vaccines and the booster. This is definitely the easiest one so far. So
I don't think I would have gotten it, or I would have gotten it immediately if I wasn't going to be gone for a month, and if this show in Singapore and TI wasn't so important.
Yeah, I had one hell of a day. I did the booster and I did the flu shot, and I got some medication that I needed to get. I went and shopped for my suit, and I had a birthday dinner all on the same day. I thought I was going to be wiped the fuck out by the end of the day. I was like, man, this booster flu shot combo is going to kick my ass considering the day I've had. And end of the day, it was fine. I even had a drink. It was chill.
Wow. It was a real birthday party.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel ready to go. I'm actually not at all ready to go. There is so much stuff that has to happen between now and Sunday night that like I'm kind of nervous about. Also, it's worth saying sorry for we missed a week of the show, both TI and also I have been just fucking burning it at both ends trying to make this monster thing happen. So we didn't do the show. This show, because I'm preparing for another one, and I'm really excited for what we're gonna do. I'm excited to also just go. We're gonna get to go hang out in Singapore, and like on just a personal level, that's cool.
And we get to go on vacation afterwards. Joey and I are doing a group vacation post TI,
which now because Liquid is qualified, we can go back to bugging Will about.
True. Yeah. Once again, another one of those things is just kind of like vaguely up in the air. There are more spots available, and it just kind of depends on who's going to show up.
But we booked an Airbnb with 8 rooms, and we're like, we can fill these, right? And spoiler, only 7 are filled right now, so we can really...
Yeah, I invited Avery, by the way. Well, I don't think he'll accept, but yeah, he actually seemed like he was considering it, so we'll see.
Feels like the kind thing to do. Yeah, one of my cameramen had a funny Avery story. Allegedly, one of the Team Liquid employees who used to work for Chaos doing like photography contracted, he was trying to do a photo shoot with SVG, and like this guy's like super friendly, and a lot of photographers are generally like, they're trying to vibe with people, they're trying to get them in a good mood, and and he's like, oh, like SVG, that's who cast with Cass, I didn't have a good time with them. And I'm like, oh, what like what happened? And he's like, I was trying to take photos of this guy, and he looked at me and he said, no talking, you have 3 minutes. And I went, okay, I'm gonna take the photos now.
Dude, that sounds actually that is exactly an Avery thing to do. Like, he's joking, he is joking, but he's gonna pass it off like, that's pretty funny.
Really good at deadpan, yeah. So I'm like, no. Like I'm like he's cool.
You have 3 minutes.
You have 3 minutes. Take all the photos you want.
That's great. Yeah, me and Avery did coverage of the Last Chance qualifiers. For those of you guys who are interested, we'll probably do the first day of group stage. I think the second day is probably when we fly out. I'm still a little fuzzy on the details there.
If you're taking that flight, like the game, you need to be at the airport probably around the time the games are starting.
Yeah,
or at least leaving. So
at least the first day, you can watch me, Avery, and Lyrical, and then we've had some people like Coddle Guy, Trent, a few others who have just kind of dropped by, hung out. Honestly, it's been a lot of fun. If you want to get the vibe of watching Dota, like hanging out, couch with some friends, joking around and stuff, that's kind of what's been going on.
It was chill. You left your stream alone, and like Lyrical was the only person there, so I clicked in once. I'm like, oh, there's a game. I'm gonna watch them do the Liquid game. And like, you're off camera, it's quiet. Lyrical's just like, so hey guys, I guess this is my stream. And I'm like, yeah, this is the vibe I like. It was nice to listen to y'all chill, and also a lot of Fleetwood Mac on your playlist.
Yeah, nice 80s 90s vibe. Kind of fits. Kind of where you're going. I need something that like it gets a little nostalgia vibe because it gets all the boomers. And the thing is, Dota viewers are all boomers, so they're all like, "Oh, I love this song." You play any Zoomer music, they're like, "What is this shit?"
I don't want any
so you
TikTok
gotta go
tracks.
boomer vibes. Yeah, exactly. So,
what else is on your agenda before we wrap up, my friend?
We got one more thing to talk about, and that one, maybe we're ending the show on a bit of a downer here, but LD tweeted out just yesterday last night, in fact. He tweeted out a number of tweets. I'll go through them. Out not with a bang, but a whimper. No idea what the future holds, but thanks for everything all these years. Love you always. And he links the BTS intro video, the really nice one that they put together back in like 2014, 2015. And that was just kind of like, I saw that one. I was like, what the fuck? What's wrong with LD?
Yeah, like someone go do a wellness check. Like, are you okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah.
He said, can't believe it's been 10 years, been the experience of a lifetime, would never change a single thing, but it's beyond disappointing to see all the sacrifice, love, and support of so many people who gave their all cast aside like it never even mattered. And then there was a couple follow-up tweets. Basically, the BTS seems to have not gotten one of the DPCs for next year. And because they didn't get that, it doesn't seem like BTS has any Dota events coming up in the future at all. So BTS, who was already not doing a whole lot of, they stopped doing any third parties, right? Like we haven't had a summit in a long time. Big part of that is COVID, obviously. But they also part of that is the DPC schedule and stuff like that, because they are doing Smash summits and things like that. They're doing other
CS
events.
Summits.
Yeah, they're doing. They're also the ones who run the new XQC show. Juiced, I think it's called. They're working with Ludwig on that. Like they've been fitting in more into the Twitch YouTube side of things lately, and more the streamer side. But when it comes to esports, they have not done a whole lot of Dota stuff. They just did the DPC and they plugged along with that. But we haven't had no bot TI, no summits, nothing like that. They just will do the BTS Pro Series and keep that going. But now no DPC, and I don't know, that tweet also implies that they are not doing any more BTS Pro Series, perhaps, or maybe they just don't consider that like the same kind of product or something like that. But
maybe
BTS being out of Dota is not good.
That's the headline, right?
Yeah.
That's the big headline to take away. There's two perspectives that I think about here when I read that. First is like from a healthiness of BTS's business. Like it makes me worried about like their employees, their revenue, their ability to function as a business. And like you said, they've been diversifying. They've been diversifying, and Dota isn't like the biggest revenue generator ever. Probably. Yeah,
I highly doubt the DPC was paying many bills from everything I've gotten from tournament organizers. It doesn't seem like DPC is real breadwinner.
But for what is essentially kind of a small business, kind of a startup, like every little bit does matter, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I was like, I hope that their company is okay, because they employ a lot of like truly phenomenally talented people.
Yeah.
And the second one, like you're saying, it just feels so sad for Dota in a way that like the Join Dota shuttering didn't. Almost, which like
what do you mean? What do you mean, Joey? Join Dota is a very personable organization.
Okay.
People love Join Dota. They love those forums that they go to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. You're right. I'm sorry. Let me recant. It feels like a bit of a bummer. It just feels like a bummer, because I don't know. BTS is the homegrown people, right? Like, yeah, sure. ESL does Dota events, and PGL does Dota events, and WePlay does Dota events, and these people exist in the space to organize esports events. But BTS became a thing, period, because of Dota. So to get step away from that, I think that's what a lot of the emotion from LD's tweet and some of the responses come, right? Because like people got their career starts there a decade ago. It was for a very long time the largest channel that existed on Twitch. It spawned a production company. It is like a successful business that, was built around Dota, and you can probably count those on one hand.
Yeah, I look at BTS as the success story of Dota, right? It's a group of people, talent, and a company that started in Dota but has grown outside of Dota and is a big thing out there. To be honest, I don't look at the other success stories of Dota would be the player-owned organizations, Team Secret, OG, Alliance. I don't look at those the same because it's like, okay, well, you got a fucking influx stimulus money, $1 million. Like, yeah, okay. And also like, it's just, I am not convinced by the success that those organizations will still be around 10, 15 years from now. I think maybe OG will, or like one or two of them will go on to be like, yeah, okay, they're mainstream.
For me, it's
org,
Secret.
But Secret, okay.
And do you know why that is?
I don't know. Why is that?
They have
Valorant?
a spot in the Valorant League. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I think that is a giant
boat
of confidence in terms of growing forward and getting new fans. I think that Secret with the Valorant spot has made it.
Yeah, that's actually probably good shout. But otherwise, like I feel like BTS is that success story where they grew out of Dota and they grew into something much bigger and also just much better. Like the quality of the shows that they run is so high. All of the summits are awesome shows, no matter what game they're doing. And so to have them doing less and less in Dota and now potentially nothing in the next year, I think is a huge loss for Dota. And I think it says a decent amount about I don't know if it's the health of the ecosystem or what exactly, but like, even if they didn't get a DPC, like surely like they should be incentivized to run a summit again or something, right? But
I'd hope so. But then is it like a path? So what that gets to then is like where does the passion versus business lie? Because maybe they might really want to do a summit, but there like really isn't a business case for it because it's going to lose money. So
yeah, and same thing for the DPC itself, right? And their proposal, but like there are a lot of details that we don't actually know of, like what exactly their proposal was to Valve and what other people's proposal were. But I think the big question marks is like, okay, sure, BTS isn't doing a show anymore. I don't necessarily think their DPC show was like that amazing, right? It's just in general BTS, like the quality of work that they've done over the length of time is amazing. I don't necessarily know if their specific DPC show was that good, but it was better than other ones for sure. It probably doesn't compete with ESL, who bring like a level of production from their shows that's like kind of silly almost. Right?
Yeah.
I think that at this point in time, having BTS, who's replacing them? Who are the organizations that want to run the DPC? Like, as far as I understand, there aren't many. So I'm just in general kind of flabbergasted that there's somebody who's replacing BTS.
There is the popular rumor that like PGL just owns the DPC now.
I keep seeing that.
I don't know if there's any credence to that. And let's be clear.
Yeah, where did that rumor come from?
Let me be clear about something, because we just joked about a rumor earlier. I do not know that is true.
I know nothing about this. I didn't know about this BTS thing.
Yeah.
And Sunsfan has hinted about something. I haven't actually asked anybody about this. I'm going to remain in ignorance probably until I get to TI, and then, there'll be a bunch of scuttlebutt going around.
Yeah. I don't know if I like the fact that Sunsfan has now like put this weird like cloud over something. It's like, I have a big secret and it's not going to make people happy, because people are like, what the fuck's the secret? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay? Like,
it does add to the doom and gloom atmosphere that the Dota community is already very heavily invested in, which I think there are good reasons for it. I think there are some bullshit reasons. I think there are a lot of people who are just jumping on shit just to jump on it. I don't know. Everybody just is like racing to the bottom when it comes to the least charitable takes on some things. But I do think there are legitimate concerns. And this rumor of like PGL owning the DPC, I just can't imagine why they would do that. Like, what proposal did PGL give to Valve that was like so enticing that they decided that, yeah, we're gonna like kind of kick out the rest of the third-party organizations in Dota Now, with the change of the season setup, right, where apparently we're going to have 3 weeks upper division, 3 weeks lower division, so there should be third parties during the lower division stuff, is what I would hope is going to happen. Then maybe we'll get back, we'll run some ESL ones, and we'll do some Dota pits, and hopefully some summits. Man, I hope those come back. But I don't know. It's just like it seems very weird to do something like that. And then there's also this. There's another rumor about BetBoom. BetBoom is the one who's doing the Russian broadcast. There's a lot of kerfuffle about that. You could check out Kyle's Twitter for more about that if you want any information on BetBoom and like their involvement in Dota and stuff like that. But they're doing the Russian broadcast, and also apparently they've been given a DPC hub. So then I don't know if that adds to the credence of PGL owning all the hubs. It could be they just got the Russian side of things, or I don't know exactly. But yeah, the fact that there just aren't very many organizations seemingly interested in doing Dota stuff, and those who have, I know their interest is flagging. Now, it could be that like every year is different, and like maybe they did get a whole bunch of proposals or something. And maybe there is some revitalized interest or something like that. But I know from the orgs that I work with, they're not super excited about Dota. Like, they just kind of keep going because it's one of the big esports, but it's not like, oh man, we gotta be in Dota, baby. Nobody feels that way from my understanding anyway.
Yeah. It feels weird to parallel this in like the midst, because like if you take like our show and just almost break it up into chapters, like we are legitimately really excited about TI. It's happy time. It's happy season. And then you think about this, you see the way people are reacting on Twitter, on Reddit, you see some of the doom and gloom, and you're like, well, what's like going on? And there's like this just miasma of uncertainty that almost is like bleeding into TI a little bit. And I would almost rather like remain ignorant to all that for just like, give me 3 more weeks. Give me 3 more weeks, and then I can like talk about the future of Dota, maybe be a little bit doomy, or maybe try and figure out what's going on once we know more of what's going on. But I just want to like, I don't know. I want to like have this summer vacation where people are happy together. And it's hard to do right now.
Yeah. I do think that the biggest thing that I think people overstate is the whole dead game thing, is that even if you disagree with whatever Valve's doing with Dota for the next year, even if you disagree what they're doing with the battle pass or whatever it is, whatever their choices are, Valve, again, unless Valve's going to go all like Nintendo and actively start shutting down broadcasts and really trying to like just kneecap their own competitive scene as much as possible. Dota is still a game that is bringing in a lot of people. There's very high average concurrent player numbers. There's very high average concurrent viewer numbers when it comes to the tournaments that are going on right now. There is interest in Dota. People are watching it. People are playing it. And no matter what happens, people are going to keep doing that. And there is going to be a competitive scene behind that. So I am like morbidly interested in what Valve is doing for next year. And I will definitely have an opinion on whether or not it hurts or helps the scene. But I don't think there's any active way that Valve it can't kill the scene. Even if they neglect it, it's still going to keep going. People should remind themselves of that. And like, there is always going to be an esports scene because there's always going to be players and viewers that are interested in watching competitive Dota. It's a great game to be able to watch. And I think TI will continue to highlight that every year that it's still around.
I suspect that there's probably just some level of people being bummed out because it never feels good to like, be the king, even though you can argue Dota was never the king, but like they were always in the conversation, right? It feels weird to be the king and then suddenly, start to fade a little bit for any reason. Like that down slope is generally not a thing that humans are fond of, right? So yeah. I think that there's like a little bit of that psychologically going on right now. And it's most apparent if you just look at the TI prize pool. People are like, see? Look, evidence. There's evidence here. But
the fact that we're only going to be giving away $20 million to the players. Yeah.
Oh, woe is them.
Feels bad, man, for them.
I can't.
Yeah.
I bet there's gonna be like one player who complains about it. They're gonna be like making ass of themselves on Twitter and be like, "Oh, guys, we got 4th place, but like,
No way. No.
No?
Nobody's that far out of the realm of reality. Okay, so the thing is, esports is full of a lot of people who don't know like what the quote unquote real world is like, but simultaneously, esports doesn't have the Hollywood celebrity type where you are just blind to like real world struggles around you. These people they're not living such a high life that they don't recognize what they've got, I think, for the most part.
Hey man, well, dude, the next time we talk, well, not the next time we talk, the next time we talk and a recorder is going, we're gonna be on the opposite side of the planet.
Yeah. Are we gonna do another show? Are we gonna do the monster show before we do this show again? I mean, fortunately, we'll have a lot of equipment to record a good show, good Saipo podcast.
I was planning on recording podcasts, and then also potentially doing a podcast with guests because we can probably get people to the hotel room pretty easily. So we should do that. I don't know what's going to happen first. The first episode of Monster Mornings is the first day of playoffs, which is a Thursday. It's the 20th.
October 20th.
October 20th.
Which is exactly a week from now.
Yeah. So I bet that's probably the first. I bet that's the show that happens. We go through that weekend. We probably record a podcast after the first part of playoffs. And then we do more of the monster show for the last part of playoffs. And then we go on vacation.
Yeah, honestly, we should probably record like 5 podcasts during that break. I don't know what the fuck we're going to do during the break day, man. I'm so fucking weirded. There's so many things weird about this TI. The fact that like me as a commentator not covering the group stage, I don't like that.
Is there an expectation for you to work during those 5 days? Like for content or for anything else? Yeah.
No. Well, I think there's a rehearsal day, obviously, but like the majority of those days, I'm pretty sure are free. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. Like, I think I'm literally gonna be bored.
We're gonna go. Have you been
during TI?
Have you been to Singapore?
Yeah, I've been to Singapore a few times.
Okay, well then never mind.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go explore.
Great place. I love being around. I love walking around. Yeah. Okay. I'm just not really an exploring type.
Yeah, I love it. That's all I want to do is go to a new city and then get lost and walk around and listen to podcasts. I'm like you at the airport, except different.
Yeah, except I'm trying to get to a place. I'm trying to get to A to B as efficiently as possible. You're there to wander around.
And just be like, ooh, look at the tall buildings. Oh, I love it. Everybody, we'll see you in Singapore. Twitch.tv/Monster Gaming. We will be doing a show on the 20th before the broadcast. We'll tweet about it, poke you about it, and hang out on Discord. Thank you. See you soon. See you in Singapore. It's TI, baby. Let's go.
Woo!